Hello and welcome. We often hear that India's economy is one of the fastest growing in the world. But at the same time, finding a good, stable job can still feel like a huge challenge. It's a real puzzle, isn't it? Well, today, we're going to look under the hood of our economic engine and figure out exactly what's going on. So this is the big question, right? The numbers tell us one thing, but for many people, the reality on the ground feels, well, a bit different. To really understand this gap between growth and jobs, we first need to break down the economy into its main parts. So let's step into what we can call the engine room of the economy. You'll find that any economy, including ours, is basically made up of three fundamental sectors. Think of them as three different teams, each playing a very important role. Okay, first up, we have the primary sector. This is the foundation, the starting point of everything. We can call it team nature because it's all about producing things by directly using natural resources, pulling things from the earth, from the water, from the land. So we're talking about activities like agriculture, of course, but also things like dairy farming, fishing, and even mining for minerals. In fact, because farming is such a huge part of it, this sector is often just called the agriculture and related sector. Next, we have the secondary sector. This is our manufacturing team. Its job is to take all those raw materials from the primary sector and, well, transform them. Through industrial activity, it turns them into other, more valuable things. This is where a lot of value gets added. For example, you take cotton from the farm, and in the sector, it's spun into yarn and woven into cloth. Or you take sugarcane and process it to make sugar and jaggery. See? It's all about transformation. And finally, there's the tertiary sector, which we also call the service sector. Now, this team is a bit different. It doesn't actually produce a physical good. Instead, it provides all the essential services that help the other two sectors run smoothly. It's like the support system for the whole economy. And this service sector is huge. Think about it. It includes everything from transport to move goods around, banking to manage money, and even important professions like teachers and doctors. In modern India, it also includes call centers and all those big software companies. It's absolutely vital. All right, now that we know about our three teams, primary, secondary, and tertiary, we can get back to that puzzle we started with. The story of India's economic journey, especially in the last few decades, is really fascinating, and it's best told by looking at two very different charts. First, let's look at where the money comes from, the share of each sector in our country's total economic value. And what you see here is a massive, massive change. The tertiary or service sector has just shot up. It is now by far the biggest contributor to India's economy. But, and this is a really big but, when we look at where people are actually working, the picture is completely different. A similar shift in jobs from agriculture to other sectors just hasn't happened. The primary sector, mostly farming, still employs the largest number of people in our country. And there it is. That's the core of the puzzle. The sector generating most of the wealth, services, isn't creating the most jobs. And the sector with the most jobs, agriculture, is generating the least wealth. This huge imbalance points to a hidden problem, a problem called underemployment. The answer to our puzzle lies in this idea that economists call disguised unemployment or underemployment. It might sound a bit technical, but it's a really important concept that explains why so many people, especially in our villages, can work very hard but still not earn very much. So what does it mean? Well, basically, it's a situation where people seem to be working, but they aren't actually needed for that work. You might have, say, 5 people doing a job that could easily be done by just 2 or 3. Everyone is busy, but no one is working to their full potential. Let's make this simple with an example from the textbook, the story of Lakshmi's family. There are 5 members, and they all work on their small family farm. But what happens if 2 of them get a job at a nearby factory and leave? Well, the farm's total production doesn't fall at all. It stays the same. This shows us that those 2 people were not really needed there. Their unemployment was just disguised. Okay, so we're starting to get the picture, but to really understand the job situation in India, we need to add a couple more layers to our thinking. We can also classify work based on who owns the business and what the working conditions are like. So first, we can divide jobs into the organized and the unorganized sectors. Think of someone like Kanta, who has an office job. She gets a regular salary, paid holidays, and job security. That's the organized sector. But then think of someone like Kamal, a daily wage laborer. His work is irregular, his pay is low, and he has no benefits. That's the unorganized sector, and that's where most Indians actually work. And the other way we can classify things is by ownership. You have the public sector, which is owned by the government. Think of Indian Railways or the post office. Their main goal is public welfare. And then you have the private sector, owned by individuals or companies like Tisco or Reliance, where the main motive is to make a profit. So, we've broken down the economy into its different parts. We've looked at the big puzzle of growth versus jobs, and we've uncovered this hidden problem of underemployment. This all leads to the most important question. What is the path forward? Where do we go from here? So, let's sum up the challenge. Step 1, we have way too many people stuck in agriculture, not working to their full potential. Step 2, our manufacturing and service sectors are growing, but they're just not creating enough jobs to absorb all these people. So step 3 is clear. We have to create more good, productive jobs outside of agriculture. So how do we do that? Well, the textbook suggests a few key things. We need to invest in rural infrastructure, things like dams, canals, and better roads. We need to provide cheap credit so small farmers and businesses can grow. We should encourage industries in small towns. And, perhaps most importantly, we need to invest in our people through better health and education. And just to show you how much potential there is, check this out. One study estimated that just by improving our education system to meet the country's needs, we could create nearly 20 lakh, that's 2 million new jobs in the education sector alone. That's incredible, right? And all of this brings us to a really powerful thought, captured in this quote. Building a strong, fair economy isn't just about us right now. It's about our responsibility to create a stable and prosperous future for the next generation. So we'll leave you with a final question to think about. Now that you understand how these different sectors work, what do you think is the single most important thing we could do to create more and better jobs right there in your own area? It's something for all of us to consider. Thanks so much for joining us.